Hello.
Hi.
How are you guys? So, welcome to the Black Cranes and Unquiet Spirits cover reveal panel. I'm KP Kulski. I'm a Korean American horror writer, but we're here to really talk about these lovely ladies. So, if you want to go ahead and start introducing yourself, Angela, start over there.
Sure, absolutely. I'm Angela Yuriko Smith, a third-generation Shimanchu American, which is the indigenous tribes of Okinawa. And I'm also an award-winning poet, author, and the publisher of Space and Time magazine. I began with nonfiction years ago and decided to move into fiction about 10 years ago. And yep, I've got 2 Bram Stokers, yay, as of this year. And I was the HWA Mentor of the Year for 2020. And next.
Oh, that's a hard act to follow, isn't it? Lovely to be here with my Unquiet and Black Crane sisters. My name is Lee Murray. I'm an award-winning writer, editor, poet from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I kind of write speculative and horror, and I write for children and also for adults. Also an HWA Mentor of the Year sometime in the past. I think I've got the same trophy as Angela. It's a long story. It's got the same date on it. Anyway, it's wonderful to be here, especially on the, just on at the moment of the cover reveal of the new re-release of Black Cranes and also Unquiet Spirits. So thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Geneve, or Jean. Usually get called Jean. I'm a 2-time Bram Stoker Award winner and also Shirley Jackson Award winner. I write dark fiction, so I probably don't dabble too much in the other genres, pretty much horror. And I'm an editor, author, and now poet. So I'm also very excited here for our cover reveals.
Wow. So, unfortunately, Greg Chapman could not be here with us today, but he is the artist for these wonderful, amazing covers. So, we are going to watch a clip so he gets a little chance to speak to us.
Hi, everyone. It's Greg Chapman here, coming to you from Australia. And Lee and Jean and Angela have asked me to chat a bit about the cover design and cover art that I created for Black Cranes as part of this panel, and I'm really thankful for them asking me to talk a bit about the cover art because it's personally one of my favourite pieces of artwork that I've created, and naturally I'm very proud that the book has done so well with so many awards, and naturally that's due completely to the fact of how great the stories are. So I think it was back in 2019 that Lee asked me to create the cover art for the anthology, and it had just so happened that I'd just returned from a trip with my family to Japan, and I immediately thought of a geisha being one of the most recognizable and iconic images of Japan. And I recall that when I was in Kyoto with my family, we saw a number of geishas just walking around on their way to their job. And basically I recall just how amazingly dressed they were and how much attention to detail they had, and so I really wanted to strive for that in my artwork. So the cover, though, itself is a bit of a montage. The artwork doesn't look like this at all. It was actually pieces of artwork that I created and put together in Photoshop. So this is the original geisha painting that you can see takes center stage on the front cover. So it was basically a matter of I wanted something a creepy looking geisha, but not too creepy. So I basically made it look a bit spooky, and And then it was a matter of piecing together the other elements of the cover. So there's some a crane there, and the original background texture was a watercolor painting that I did. And as you can see, yes, it's completely different color to the original, to the actual finished product of the cover. So that doesn't really matter though. When you've got the magic of Photoshop, you can change anything. But these are some of the other cranes that I used on the cover. So all these elements came together to create the finished product, and it's all about piecing, not just doing the artwork, but looking for symmetry in the cover and piecing it all together so that it looks as if it's all meant to be together. I was asked not long ago to create a different but similar cover for the new hardcover edition that's coming out from Raw Dog Screaming Press. And really glad again for Lee and Jean and Jennifer at Raw Dog for coming to me to ask to create a slightly different piece of artwork. This version, though, went through a few ideas. I originally wanted to ramp up the horror, and I even painted the geisha with a bit more of a skeletal face. But I think that was just a bit too... I think we all came to the conclusion that was just a bit too scary. So I went through a few other iterations and a few other versions, a few other ideas, something a bit more, I guess, creepy with the geisha's cloak there. Some other options which a bit more traditional, but still, that creepy aspect with the weeping of the blood. And in the end, I decided to go for something a bit more subtle. We all realised that we wanted to create something that was a bit creepier, but not too scary. So ultimately we went with this painting here, a ghostly sort of geisha who's, really been just sort of brought down to a ponderous sort of aspect, something that's, mystical. And also created some new cranes as well, different but similar. And also just a bit of a mountain range here, which has all been subtly put together. Naturally, I don't have the finished cover artwork here, but I'm sure Lee and Jean will be able to share that with you during this panel. I do have a more specific question here that Jean asked me. She says, your cover is the original inspiration for all the covers that follow. And now the relaunched including the relaunched Black Cranes. She says, what has it been like seeing your work inspire so many wonderful iterations? What's been the reception to both the Black Cranes covers? Has the success of the book shaped my work in any way? And which cover is your favourite? I really like how the covers all tie together. Naturally, they're by different artists. So I've only created the Black Cranes one, but I guess I'm honoured and privileged that this cover resonated so much with so many people that it's sort of been carried on into other versions of the books that all they're all tied together in a theme. I do like the Unquiet Spirits cover. I think it's quite beautiful. And kudos to the artist there. As I said, this is my favourite cover that I've done, and I think that's also because I put a lot of effort into creating the artwork and doing it by hand, whereas a lot of the covers I do these days are digital photo manipulations. So this book does, hold a special place in my heart, and I'm really proud of Lee and Jean, and I'm really grateful to them for coming to me to do that artwork in the first place. And I do wish the new Black Cranes version and any other iterations that come out the very best of luck. So thanks very much again for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the panel. Bye.
Wow. It's really cool to see all the things that go into that creation of that final product. It's amazing.
Yeah, that was.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was really interesting to watch. I have some questions now for the rest of you. Let's start with the first one. Lee and Genevieve had an unusual process for deciding the table of contents for Black Cranes, a mix of Chinese numerology as well as the usual considerations of themes and story length and things like that. How did you decide on the table of contents for Unquiet Spirits?
It's interesting, isn't it, on the back of that discussion about covers, because just in the same way as we kind of wanted to lean into that very Asian concept for the covers, we did the same with Black Cranes in setting up our table of contents by leaning into 8 for the ninth tail. Rena Mason's The Ninth Tail, which appears in Black Cranes. We had to make it the ninth tail. It just made perfect auspicious sense.
Yes.
And then of course the number 4 in Chinese numerology relates to death, and so my story had the number 4 in it, and so we went with number 4 for that. And we did the same thing with Unquiet Spirits. There were some stories that lent themselves very well to the theme of numbers, and some other considerations. So as well as thinking about the journey that the reader goes through when they approach an anthology, and of course there's those bizarre readers who just dip in and read any old in any old order, but some readers read from the beginning to the end. So there's a kind of journey that you want to take them through. So Angela and Genevieve and I, in both cases, in both of those anthologies, considered the journey. Which stories were very brutal, and sometimes you're a softer story, so you can have a bit of a palate cleanser as you go on, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's not your traditional way of approaching an anthology. And in Unquiet Spirits, Angela and I wanted to sort of address the very powerful stories that were personal stories that were offered up to us, and so bizarrely we kind of decided that our own essays needed to be first and last in order to sort of cradle them, and we struggled a great deal with this, and Genevieve will understand, because I went to her and said, we can't do this. How do you do this? You can't do this as editors and put your own work first and last to sort of introduce and sort of, frame the work, if you like. But actually, we really felt in the end we needed to do this. And so it was, for little Asian girls, it was really a problem from the point of view of hubris, but I hope it works. Angela, jump in, because I'm talking too much as usual.
Oh no, I particularly remember 14, and I might be wrong because I don't have the TOC in front of me, but I want to say it was Benabel Wins is number 14, and that was like 14 is unlucky as well, so we were like, well, who's going to get 14? But her story, or the story that we chose, I'm pretty sure it was Win, was all about death and luck, and it just had those kind of themes, so it fit perfectly. Am I wrong? Is it Benabel Win?
No, it's not 14. I'm just looking.
Forget everything I just said. I wasn't really
there's a lot of death in there. Yes, I'm just trying to remember how we did it. But there's a lot of death and horror in these stories. So for sure,
whatever story is in 14, I remember that's why we put it there, because it was like it had those themes of death and bad luck and all of that kind of connotation. So
yeah.
So
well, it sounds like you guys did exactly that, cradling. I thought that was a perfect term. Kind of almost like you're caretaking all of the other authors in the collection. So I think that's really, there's a lot of sensitive stuff in there. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, Lee and Angela, what was the process for designing the cover for Unquiet Spirits?
We already obviously had Greg's beautiful cover art for Black Cranes at this point, and this was before we had Genevieve and I had a discussion about what we might want for the re-release of Black Cranes. So we had originally the cover art for Black Cranes, which had been so effective. I mean, Greg did just a wonderful job for us. and also the cover art for Tortured Willows, which Kyla started for us, which you can see behind Genevieve there. And the full cover kind of took in those same notions that Greg had toyed with in the original Black Cranes cover. So we already had some inspiration, and we decided we liked the colorways, you know, with the red, the very, which has obviously Asian symbolism, if you like, that red meaning good luck, and in Asian culture, and some of the same features like the fan there, and the bleeding from the eye, and the traditional dress, those sorts of things. And then we did a mood board, and sort of, because we didn't really want to be too prescriptive. I think that's a danger. You need to allow your artist to come along and give you something special from their own perspective as well. So Angela and I worked really hard to kind of say, this is the mood we want, this is what we're wanting to convey, the kinds of feel, you know, how do you write about a feel, you know, but that was exactly how we went about it. Do you agree, Angela? I'm sure you've got other things to add, because you are a designer, so you do know what we're talking about.
I don't know about a designer. I'm like, because my designer, which is Kira, always tells me how I'm doing it wrong. So I thought the original cover of Bittersweets was fine. That is a long-standing joke in our family. But no, it was easy. Well, I say this because I didn't do it, but I felt like it was easy because we had the Black Cranes that Greg had done to like bridge off of. So the colors were already decided. Some of the theme elements were already decided. I liked that it was kind of a closer, like his girl is a little bit farther away, and this is bringing it forward. Like it was a smaller group doing it, and it's much more intimate experiences. So I like that it conveyed that. I mean, really, all the covers are just incredible, and I need to do a banner of all 4 covers to use on socials, because they're all so beautiful together.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, that slightly turned away, the things we're hiding, the fan, you know, the movement, and just, I mean, the color, to be honest, is Genevieve's doing. She really wanted to lean into the more, you know, horror theme. You know, that's a very common color in horror text, and so she really wanted to lean into that aspect of it. But the actual Unquiet Spirits cover was done in-house by one of Lindy Ryan's artists, and that person is now on maternity leave and not taking commission, so we're not going to use the name just today, so she's not inundated with work. But it's an absolutely stunning cover, and I do think it complements all of the covers in the series really well, and especially since we've got different publishers. We've got Black Spot Books doing Unquiet Spirits, the essays, and now Raw Dog Screaming Press doing Black Cranes, and so, you know, they bring their own vision to the text, and both of these the re-release of Black Cranes and also Unquiet Spirits have new fresh interior art, which it brings something special to the text, I think.
Yeah, you know, and kudos to Jean for picking those colors, because it's like she predicted how good they were going to match that Stoker sticker. I mean, the 2 reds just complement each other. Unquiet Spirits uses that same red, by the way.
I knew that.
Sneaky.
I totally meant it.
Yeah, it's like it was meant to be. I'm just saying.
But the inspiration is actually from a lot of Asian horror, like movies and text. The original cover of Rin Chipiko's The Girl in the Well, I think,
yes, has
the teal and the black and the touches of red. And I thought that, that's the kind of tone that we want, because it's almost like a shorthand to the reader. This is what's going to be inside the book.
Absolutely. I think Alma Katsu had a novel with a similar color as well. And
Yeah,
so
the
we were
fervor.
trying to, we were trying to lean into that notion. So yeah, that worked really,
Actually, I
really
have
well.
it right there.
The
No, I
fervor?
think it was an earlier book
Was it the hunger?
that had the teal one.
I think the
Well, it might
hunger
have been
is
the hunger, yeah.
yeah.
But
Oh,
actually,
right.
Angela, I think the British version of Alma's The Fervor actually has these colors as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think the publishers are catching on it. You're right, Jen. It's a shorthand for this is dark fiction, dark fantasy from Asian authors. I think that it is a shorthand, isn't it? It's very it's very recognizable now.
But
Yeah.
specifically Asian. Sorry, because we tend to do black and white in English. You know what I mean? I'm not black and white, black and red. It tends to always be black and red and orange and green. So
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Let's see. What was the process for designing the cover for the relaunch of Black Cranes? This is for Lee and Genevieve.
We kind of got.
I think you're right. I think we did kind of cover that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, let's go on because Genevieve has some other things to say. Like I'm sure she has.
I think we kind of tried to balance between Raw Dog, Screaming Press, the type of covers that they had, and also some of Greg's ideas to come up with a cover that captures what we really wanted, and we were so happy with what we eventually got because, like Greg said, he had an image that was quite openly horror. But Raw Dog Screaming Press's covers are a little bit more subdued in their horror, and we found a balance between the two with that geisha turning away, and it's almost like it symbolizes where the actual cranes, willows, and spirits have gone, where we're moving from the original face on to this is the new journey now. So that was very
Yeah,
very
yeah,
deep
and
and
I think
meaningful.
we sort of wanted to just move a little bit away from that gothic feel, and you saw that you could see the iterations that Greg went through. Something a little more pure horror and gothic, with to that and you saw him do the image of the feminine figure but facing away, and then the sort of tentacles, the sort of Cthulhu type tentacles at the bottom of the robe, so it was a process. You can see the stepwise process that we went to, and then we thought, no, we want beauty in horror, which is tricky, isn't it? I mean, how do you do something that is exquisitely beautiful and fine and delicate but also does conjure those notions of horror? Greg is very good at this, and I think part of it is because he's also a writer of horror. So he kind of understood what we were trying to say when we were saying, no, what we want is sort of more this or more that, and we're trying to give him the words that describe the feel, and that is really tricky. But so it really does help to have someone who understands, what you're trying to dive into in terms of, the text, and convey that on the cover. So that turning away notion really gave us that new angle of looking at the same material, or the same sort of theme, and the approach came to with the Unquiet Spirits cover, where we had that sort of new angle and moving forward and progressing in a different direction. And so, as Jean said, that really did cover that notion. So the cover, I'm just really excited about this new cover because it is equally beautiful. And I just didn't know how we were going to do better. Isn't that, wasn't that the problem when you get a cover that is so like, this fabulous, we'll have them both up at the same time, this fabulous cover of Black Cranes. How could we do something that leaned into this and was still equally beautiful, but, and new? That's a tall order for any artist. So I think he's really nailed it. It's just stunningly beautiful. And has those same notions, but is also very fresh.
I really love that idea of having the figure turn and that communicating some sort of a journey too. I think that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at all the covers together too, you can, which I can see on my screen right now, it is like front on and then slightly turned with Tortured Willows and then facing profile with Unquiet Spirits, and then she's profile the other way with the new cover. So very cool how that happened.
Almost feels like a ghost
Yeah.
traveling past a window,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Oh, we meant to do that, right, everybody?
And I think the color, you know, I think when I think about, say, something like Asian ghost short stories, it also reflects, you know, look at that. I mean, it also has these same colors. So yes, it is becoming a staple, and I rather like that. I think that's really groundbreaking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's cool because it's really showing how much it's becoming embraced, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is really neat. All right. Lee, it's been a bit of a roller coaster with the publication of Black Cranes and your collection, Grotesque. Can you tell us how you found new homes for these fantastic Bram Stoker award-winning works?
Yeah, that's tricky, isn't it? Because in both cases we went with small press, and in those two books, and to be, and by the way, Grotesque is the cover of Grotesque was another Greg Chapman cover, so delighted about that. But you know, small press can be precarious, you know, especially in times of the pandemic and other social, you know, other pressures. So unfortunately, in both cases, you know, our publishers have called it quits in those two cases. So I was looking for new publishers, but in actual fact, Raw Dog Screaming Press is kind of home. So it made perfect sense to take Black Cranes to Raw Dog Screaming Press, because they have been, you know, fantastic supporters of mine. I love the things they do. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And so Genevieve and I had a discussion with Jennifer, and it just, you know, it was just a lovely, you know, progression. Plus, Jennifer has some wonderful, you know, vision for the new text of Black Crane, so very excited about that. And Grotesque has been picked up by Crossroad Press, which fantastic little publisher of horror. So very pleased about that as well.
Wonderful. Lee and Genevieve, there has been an exciting addition to Black Cranes, Nancy Holder's afterword, excuse me. Can you tell us a little more about it? Start with Genevieve.
We were so excited when we approached Nancy, and she came back so quickly and said yes, that she wanted to do that, the afterword for us, and to have somebody of her caliber reading our work and providing an afterword for it is just amazing. I mean, some of her themes are in line with ours. It's about writing about women, about feminism, and powerful women in some of her work. So we were over the moon when she came back. So we can't wait for you guys to be able to read the afterword.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just absolutely everything Genevieve said. When we wrote to Nancy and she came back and said, yes, I've got the book. It's not a problem. I want to do it. You know, that was just very affirming. But also, you know, it's a nice compliment, because we've got, you know, compliment and a compliment, because we've got Alma Katsu at the front with her absolutely incredibly powerful forward, which is a little bit like your forward, Christy, in Tortured Willows, you know, that when you lead with, you know, I get this is powerful, you know, this will resonate, you need to read this. I don't know, there's something very empowering about that. And then to have Nancy come and give us an afterword, which is basically a more global view, because, you know, she's coming from that Western perspective, whereas Alma basically has this lived experience. So, we're very excited about that. And that said, I should also mention Lisa Kroger, who's given us a wonderful intro to Unquiet Spirits from that, that point of view of bearing witness and understanding and compassion, for the work that we're trying to put out into the world. And there's something just really uplifting about the greater community coming together, and these very eloquent, articulate, powerful women who have readership and who understand and can see what we're trying to achieve with these works. So that it's just as Jennifer said, it's thrilling. It's thrilling and such a privilege. I feel so honored to have them be part of these collections.
That's awesome. It's beautiful to watch, that's for sure. Okay, so this brings us to our last question, and this is for everyone. From the groundbreaking Black Cranes to Tortured Willows and now Unquiet Spirits, and the relaunch of Black Cranes, the sisterhood has gone from strength to strength. What's next for everyone? Angela, wait, this way.
Well, kind of, I think doing these projects first, working, having stories in Black Cranes, because I didn't get to work on it. It kind of set the mood for me for everything that I did in the future, and Tortured Willows especially. That was like my turning point, where I really only want to write about this now. So the next thing I have done, I just finished, is my first novel called Inugini, which is Japanese for a dog's death. Like, why would you kill something that's loyal to you? It's a wasted death. And so I finished that. I'm editing that right now, and I have somebody looking at it. And I started the screenplay to it for a completely different, my first screenplay, as a surprise kind of opportunity that I was like, I will try. No guarantees that this is going to work out, but I will try. And then some short stories. Of course, we have Unquiet Spirits coming out. And I think that's pretty much it. And then a nonfiction thing. But yeah, pretty much trying to take a break a little bit. It's been an intense couple of years. I think my fellow co-panelists would agree. It's been intense.
Yeah. Doesn't stop us though, does it?
We shouldn't talk, because every time we talk, there's another project that's sort of just kind of.
Yeah. Do you notice how I'm avoiding eye contact with either of you? Right now, I'm like, I'm not really here.
You're the geisha. Hey.
Totally.
Oh, me next, I suppose. I do have quite a few short stories coming out later in the year. I've got one called Double Happiness in the Chromophobia anthology that I'm so excited about, edited by Sarah Tatlinger. I've got Lidless Eyes That See, which will be coming out with PS Publishing, and that's for the anniversary of T.S. Eliot's poem, The Wasteland, and that was such a fun project to write for. And just turned in my story for Shakespeare Unleashed that will be published under James Accolone. And I'm working on my pirate novel that I think I promised Lee how many years ago now?
Can't wait.
But I'm working with a book coach to get the plot and structure into shape, so that when I actually start drafting, I'm not going in circles. But I probably will need to speak to you about historical research, Christy, because Oh yeah, and I just want to give you a shout out. I finished reading Fairest Flesh, and if I grow up to be a writer like you,
oh my god. Thank you. Oh my god. It's like, I could say the same for you.
Oh, thank you. But if I can create something that is even close to Fairest Flesh, I would be super, super happy.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, well that's going in my Amazon cart right now.
Yeah.
I might have magically got a signed copy at StokerCon of Fairest Flesh, which I just found, surprisingly. It was too exciting for words.
I did not want to take those back on the plane.
Oh, was too slow. I couldn't snaffle it. Lee got it before I did.
Oh God, Genevieve.
Oh dear. So actually, Unquiet Spirits is this, obviously at the moment I'm still working on we're getting Black Cranes, the new Black Cranes, into production and out there for a fresh group of readers to discover. But also, Unquiet Spirits is still, we're just tidying up the last of those little, references and page numbers and things before that goes out. So I just am so excited about this collection of incredible personal essays. It makes me cry every time I go through this manuscript. And as editors, we do go through the manuscript a lot of times, sometimes 10, 15 times. Reads through before the book goes out to the world. And so every time, I've got my tissues here. Oh no, I'm going to read this again. It's incredibly powerful. So I hope that, Christy, I hope you'll all mention a little bit about what your essays are about. Mine is looks at ghosts of the diaspora, when you live abroad, hungry ghosts. If you're dislocated from the home country, then you arguably become a hungry ghost when you die. And so all of us who are in the diaspora face that. And how does that make us feel? So that's what my essay addresses. But I've also been writing, I've just done the director's cut of a feature screenplay, which is a sort of fox spirit style story. It's Asian Kiwi body horror, and so that's going into production next year. So super excited about that. The film is called Grafted, and it, like I say, it goes into production in April of next year, I believe. So
Congratulations.
super excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's still on the same theme of Asian women's horror. So, yeah, super exciting. So, so Christy, why don't you tell us what you've got coming, including your essay in Unquiet Spirits and perhaps your new novella?
Okay. My essay is called 100 Livers. It's in the end, it's ultimately about being mixed Asian identity, dealing with loss, and the Korean fox spirit, the kumho, is really it's a really brutal, particularly brutal fox spirit. It's considered a demon, and some of the stories details that you have to eat so many livers in order to become fully human if you're a fox spirit. So that's what it surrounds. Just like all the amazing, powerful essays in there, it's highly personal. I have a novella coming out in September at the end of, so that's next month. Oh my gosh. It's called House of Pungsu. So it's really about women's identity and kind of the quest for it through 3 different generations, and it's set in the Joseon Korean palace, historic palace. I'm working on a novel that one day I'll finish, and it's about a Korean water ghost, a haunting. I am working also. I just started working on an anthology called Silk and Sinew, which is very much inspired by you wonderful women. You guys have created something so immense and powerful. So this is an anthology about Asian diaspora folk horror specifically. And so I'm working on getting all the contributors together right now. I've got a lot of things. Can't wait till I can start talking about more about it. So
Us too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know, it's so exciting. And then I am torturing myself. I decided to try to do a tie-in with a screenplay for a television series, maybe for Silk and Sinew. So
awesome.
Wow. Exciting.
Wow, that's a lot of work, girls.
Yeah. Yeah, what we do to ourselves. All good things, all right.
But it's exciting, this movement, isn't it? This absolute groundswell and interest, and it's hugely flattering and really important, actually. You know, to get these perspectives out there, and so other people can read them and understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really so encouraging to get feedback from readers and reviewers saying that, one, that they recognize themselves in a lot of the stories, just that sense of otherness. It doesn't matter if you're Asian or not, you can still feel like you don't belong. But also people are saying that they feel like they're learning from our works, and that's mind-blowing.
That's
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome. I think we all feel othered as well. Like, even we're all pretending to belong, but none of us belong.
Yeah, I think that's true for everybody. So that's right. It is a universal theme. And yeah, and I'm very, very pleased to have been associated with both Black Cranes and with Unquiet Spirits and all you fabulous women.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
let's go ahead and wrap this up. I want to say thank you, Genevieve. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Angela, for being here and answering these questions and showcasing these wonderful covers.
And thank you for asking all the questions, or being an amazing, awesome person
Aw,
and
thanks.
moderator. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.